here, so or it's going to be on YouTube. It's not live, but I'll get to that in just a minute. But I will have the new year's version of rule books eventually. I'm at the mercy of the South Carolina Independent Schools Association director, who I've asked for rule books a month ago and still have not received them. So I'm hoping to have them by next week, but I don't have them yet. So that's why I was asking some of these other guys that have been officiating for many years, if they had older books that they could bring to share for the first couple weeks here until everyone has one. Okay, so if you don't have a new one, you will get one as soon as I get them. Okay. Now the YouTube channel, if you're not aware of it, you should be, but everybody has access to the internet. I want you to go onto the YouTube channel and you can review each weekly meeting, whether you're here in person or you can't make a meeting. You can review it a couple days afterward. Once I get the video from Brandon, it will be posted and available for you to view on YouTube on our channel at Breakaway Sports LLC 2025. Okay, as you can see right here, we currently have 14 subscribers. I'd love for you guys to subscribe so that you get notifications when a new video is uploaded. Okay, and then you can review those videos. The other thing that will be coming shortly on here is some shorter clips. Like right now, all I have is our 3 meetings, 2 for volleyball. If you officiate volleyball, we had 2 meetings for that, and then each basketball meeting will be on here. We've only had 1 so far, so this is our second one today. All of those meetings in their entirety will be on this YouTube channel, but I will also start to send out and have shorter clips from our meetings or other things as I create them or clip them on here. So none of those are on here yet, but they will be. Okay, and that will, as a subscriber, you should also get notifications on those. So make sure that you go to this, and I send out a link every week as well with the current video. So once you go to click on the video, you can subscribe from there. Okay, it's easy to do. I'm sure many of you have already done that, used YouTube in one way or another. So that's not too difficult. So anybody that needs a rule book, you already passed them out to the ones you had? Okay. All right, good. Great. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to get into it here, okay? I'm going to spend a little bit of time, reading a couple of the rules, but the majority of the time we're going to be, what's up, guys? Here, grab this stuff right here, one of each, and find a place to sit, okay? The majority of the time is going to be spent reviewing video and talking through specific plays, specific scenarios, on several different things. So what we're going to focus on today, if you have your rule book, go to Rule 4, okay, which is definitions. Starts on page, I have last year's book, but it starts on page 30. Rule 4, definitions. Now this has all your definitions. We're not going to go through all the definitions today. We're going to focus on a few important definitions. One of them, and if you got the email reminder for the meeting today, you know what they are, but one of them is airborne shooter, which is the first one on the list, section 1. Okay, the next one is if we have time, we'll get into section 7, which is blocking charging. Okay, but we have other things to cover first. Section 11, continuous motion. We'll talk about that one. All right, and then as we continue to go forward here, the next one we'll talk about is section 23, which is guarding. All right, and then we will get into, if we keep going, section 41 is shooting, try, tap. We'll definitely be talking through that today. And section 45, which is verticality. I believe that's going to be the last one that we address today. Okay, so the majority of our discussion today is going to be around guarding, the legality of guarding, what's legal, what's illegal, what you can do, once you've obtained legal guarding position, what you can't do, how you obtain it, how you maintain it, okay? And then shooting, okay? So that's our big topic for the day is those things, guarding and shooting, all right? And they kind of all go hand in hand. So it'll be good, and I've got obviously video plays to show you as well, which definitely will be a benefit as we move forward here, okay? But I'm going to start in the rule book, okay? And we're going to start with shooting. So we're going to go to 41, section 41, in again rule 4, section 41, shooting tri-tap, okay? All right, and then we're going to bounce around a little bit based on some of the sections that I mentioned we were going to talk about, okay? So section 41, shooting tri-tap. Article 1 says the act of shooting, and I'm sorry, before I get into this, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. However, remember we're on video, so make sure it's a good question, all right? And you don't just spout out and say something in the middle of me talking. If you have a question and I'm in the middle of something, I prefer you kind of get my attention, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. So questions are definitely encouraged. I want you to ask questions. I mean, this is about learning. It's not necessarily about me being up here the entire time, just yakking, which I can do easily, but I don't want that. I want you guys to learn and ask questions. So if you have a question, write it down and then get my attention, and I'll address it as soon as I can. On the topic that we're talking about, please try not to get off topic. Don't ask a question that's not related to what we're talking about, okay? And don't just bring up a war story necessarily. I mean, you can bring up scenarios in the form of a question, but I don't want it's easy for people to get off topic, and we don't want to get off topic, okay? So just keep that in mind, and that's specifically for the video, all right? It's easy enough for me to get off topic. I don't need you guys getting me off topic even faster, okay? All right, good. So, all right, we're starting with section 1, rule 4, section 41, shooting tri-tap, okay? If you have the book, you should be there. Article 1 says the act of shooting begins simultaneous with the start of the try or tap for field goal and ends when the ball is clearly in flight and includes the airborne shooter. Now, airborne shooter is also a definition. So go back to our section 1, which is airborne shooter, back about 4 or 5 pages, 6 pages, 10 pages, whatever it is, to section 1 under definitions is airborne shooter. So we're going to read that next, okay? An airborne shooter, what is an airborne shooter? It is a player who has released the ball on a try or tap for goal, or has tapped the ball and has not returned to the floor. The airborne shooter is considered to be in the act of shooting. So again, we've heard the term active shooting twice in our first definition, or in our two definitions that we're talking about, shooting and airborne shooting, okay? So, all right, so that's where we're going to start, okay? Now, I am going to go to the video here, and I got to find it first, so bear with me as I find the correct video to pull up. I don't have that up yet, okay? All right, here we go. All right, so here is active shooting. Okay, now, some of this, let me just say, and I'm going to turn the volume up here in just a minute. Give me a second to get to it, okay? How do we, I need to open it up fully. How do I do that? Hold on. There we go, okay. All right, good. And then here, okay. All right, now, some of these videos are a little older. Some of these videos have like NCAA games, okay? So it's more about, don't worry about any of that stuff. It's more about the actual play that we're looking at and how we relate it to what we're talking about, okay? So, don't worry about all the ancillary stuff. Some of the things that they say I may or may not agree with. Most of it's spot on, but, we got to get to the nuts and bolts here. So I'm also going to go through and skip a lot of this video just so we can get to the right stuff here, okay? All right, so let me make sure my volume is up. My volume won't go up right now, which is weird because I don't know how to get my computer volume to, I'm sorry, bear with me, guys. Yeah, that's mute, that's on, so that's on. It should be like, well, okay, we may not have volume, okay? And I'm not sure why, because I can't even get my computer to work, the volume to work. So maybe it's because it's connected to the TV. Is the TV muted? No? Okay. All right, well, that's fine. It's okay. We don't have to have the volume because, it's not super important what he's saying, okay? We're going to look at the clips and then we'll talk about them. So let me just take it to a clip here. The first clip, active shooting, all right? All right. So now watch the clip. And then we'll discuss it. Okay. All right. So now, who thinks that's a shooting foul? Let me just ask the question.
Go back.
Who? I got to go back. Okay. You're killing me, Al, but that's okay. All right.
I'm just a spokesperson.
All right. Okay. I'm going back. All right. Here we go. Shooting foul or not?
Yeah.
Quick answer, yes or no?
Yeah.
Everybody says yes? Okay, good. All right, so when does the active shooting begin? Let's go back here. And the voiceover on this is pretty good, so I wish we had volume on this because his commentary on this is really good, but we don't, so that's okay. So when does the active shooting begin? Hold on, and I'm going to pause it, or you tell me when to pause it. Okay, so I obviously was a little bit late. It's right when he picks up his dribble. Right there. That's when the active shooting begins. Now, he's a couple steps away from the basket, right? Okay? All right. And this is where he gets fouled. So I have seen officials on numerous occasions call this a non-shooting foul. But this is when the active shooting starts. So the active shooting starts, and we're getting into another term here, which is continuous motion. Okay, let's go to continuous motion, which is section 11, I think, in your book. Yep. Okay, section 11. So we're gonna stop this right here, and we'll come back to the video in just a minute. So section 11 under rules definitions is continuous motion. Continuous motion applies to a try or tap for goal, which meets this criteria here, and free throws, but it has no significance unless there's a foul by a defensive player. So you only have continuous motion if there's a foul, a defensive foul. During the interval, this is the key right here, during the interval, which begins when the habitual throwing movement starts a try, or with the touching on a tap, which we'll see a couple tap plays here. Later on, and ends when the ball is clearly in flight. Okay, so the continuous motion and active shooting ends when the ball is, the continuous motion ends when the ball is clearly in flight. Active shooting ends when the player has come to the floor. Okay, all right. So the key phrase there is it begins when the habitual throwing movement starts for a try, and based on this video. Would everybody agree this is this player's habitual throwing movement to start for a try? Is everybody in agreement on that? Okay. And the foul occurs right there. He's picked up the ball. There's really no place for him to go. And some of the commentary on this video is basically saying that if you remove the players and just have the guy with the ball, okay? Take all the players. First of all, there's no other offensive players anywhere near him. He can only do two things. He can only shoot or pass, right? Once he picks up the ball, he can only shoot or pass. So if you take all the players away, there's no offensive players near him to pass. So he's not going to pass. He's going to shoot. Okay, now this is a pretty clear example, but some of the other ones aren't. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, is everybody in agreement on that, though? Everybody's in agreement. Good. Okay. All right, we're gonna go to the next play. If you're not, you need to say so, but it seems like everybody is. So yes, Ed.
Is that official in position to have a whistle right there?
Oh, that's a great question, but we're not talking about positioning today.
I'm sorry.
So, but the short answer is no, he's not. The short answer is no, he's not. Okay? Positioning is another day. That's a great question, though, honestly, Ed. Okay? All right.
He has definite knowledge.
Okay.
Another question back there.
Oh, hey there. Hey, Josh. Yes. Sorry. James, what's your question?
Maybe I didn't understand, but I didn't really see why it was a foul the last play.
All right, we're not talking about that either, okay? I mean, sadly, look, so this is not, this is our discussion today. Some of these are, they're a little iffy on fouls. Some are more obvious, okay? Again, I should have said this from the beginning too, but we don't want to get sidetracked by other than what we're discussing today, which is shooting, legal guarding position, all those kinds of things. No, it's okay. It's okay. These are good questions. These will be addressed in future meetings. Okay? So you have to come back and ask that question again. All right? That's the key there. All right? Okay, good. But the key for this video was that we wanted to establish that was in fact the act of shooting when he gathers the ball. Okay? Gather is a term that you can use. It's not specifically in the rule book. I don't think the word gather actually is in the rule book at all, but it is an acceptable term to use. And let me just stop right now and say to you, one thing that's super important is, for the most part, you need to use rule book terminology. Okay? So if you have to explain a shooting foul to a coach that thinks it might not be a shooting foul, it might be, an out of bounds instead of on a shot. Okay? One of the things you can say is gather. That's acceptable, even though it's not in the book. That's one of the only words you can use that's not in the rule book that's acceptable to use. Okay? All right? There may be a few others, but that's one. But one thing you can say that's straight from the rule book is the habitual movement. Okay? So this is I judged, if I'm answering a coach that has that question, I judge this to be that player's habitual movement to the basket on a try. Okay? And that's it. Like, there's really no defense to that. They can continue to argue if they want, but at the end of the day, you've used straight rule book terminology and answered the coach's question the best you can. Did you have something else, James?
Yeah, one more thing. I think this applies. So sometimes a player will go up for a try and they'll get fouled, and because of that, they'll try to switch to passing.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you call that a shooting foul, or?
Okay, so that's a good question. That's on topic. Okay, because what happens is, what we want to do, and this one will, it won't show the passing motion, but basically the way you want to adjudicate those plays is as the play finishes. So you have you judge the continuous motion, the active shooting. You've judged all those things to be taking place, right? The gather or habitual movement. Okay, you've judged those things to have happened. All right, and then at the very last minute, instead of that player shooting, which they should have, they decide to pass, as you said. Okay, so you're going to take the end of the play to basically change your mind. If all other criteria is met on a shooting foul, and then at the very last second they pass off, guess what? You just messed it up, because if you would have shot the ball, I'm thinking about this as the play. I'm not going to say this to the player necessarily, but I'm thinking this. If you would have shot the ball, I would have given you 2 free throws. But instead, you decided to pass at the last minute, and therefore everyone sees the pass. Okay, so we're going to go out of bounds with it instead. That's a great question, though. All right? Yeah, well, yeah, and that's where you want to have a patient whistle. We can talk about that kind of stuff too. Again, that's not on topic, but that's a good point as well. See, this discussion can go in 100 different places, and this is why you getting in the rule book and studying and watching video yourself, this is just a small sampling, what I'm doing with you guys. You need to be doing all this yourself, because it takes you in so many different avenues of overall officiating basketball that are needed. All of it's important, and we can't get to it all, okay? Especially in a limited amount of meetings and a limited amount of time, okay? But that's a fair point, okay? All right, so here's the next play. Spinning motion. Again, you guys judge whether you think it's a shooting foul or a non-shooting foul. And I'm going to let the play. Okay, so you saw what the referee did, okay? Now, you tell me, do I need to back it up, Al? Or did you see that one?
I think for the total group view, you should.
Play it again? Okay. All right. That's fine. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, let me just say, you don't have this ability in live play to do this. Okay. So this is kind of an unfair advantage for us, but at the same time, it's a learning thing, so we'll go with it. Okay. It's okay. All right. So let's do it again. All right. Now, watch it again and then judge on it. Shooting or no shooting? Who said no shooting? Okay. I thought maybe Josh said it. I was going to call him out if he did. All right. Sorry. I should know better than that. Okay. So this is a shooting foul as well. All right. And I didn't mean to call you out in a bad way if you said it. That's fine. Obviously, you saw the official wave it off. Okay. But let's slow it down and determine when the active shooting begins and continuous motion. Okay? Let's determine that. So he's got the ball here. You tell me when active shooting begins. Right there. It was before that, actually. I got to go back a little bit. All right, hang on. Okay, so you see the foul, and he's gathered the ball. Does everybody see that now? He gets fouled when he gathers and has gathered the ball at the same time. All right? So this is a shooting foul. 100% of the time, this is a shooting foul because he is in his habitual movement. Okay? It doesn't matter that he takes another step. Now, if he travels, that's a different story, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But if he takes another legal step, it remains legal, and continues his habitual movement to the basket to shoot, this is a shooting foul. Okay? All right? Because he gathered, there's his gather, and fouled at the same time. Now, if he got fouled while he's dribbling, he's continuing a dribble and gets held, that's different. Now, this is a split-second play. This is very close. Okay? It's not as cut and dry as the first play we looked at. That's why it's here, and that's why we're talking about it. Okay? But this should be ruled a shooting foul. All right? Okay, so we're going to keep going here because I think what it's going to do is and we can't hear it, of course, but it's going to, let me see if it, so he waves it off, all right, and now now it's going in slow motion, so we'll be able to see it in slow motion here. Foul and gather at the same time, okay? Shooting foul, all right?
But
Okay.
if he had put the ball back on the floor.
If he puts the ball back on the floor, it's a double dribble. Yeah. Or if he travels, right, then, that's a different situation too. All right?
But if he was dribbling in that motion, it would have been on the floor.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Yeah. All right. So we're moving here. I'm moving on. We're going to go to the next play. All right, because we got to keep going here. All right, this is a tap for goal. So try or tap, right? Okay. Now try to catch it in real time and give me a ruling. Tap, tap, foul. Shooting or no? Did you catch it in real time? Of course not. Well, I get that. The video's not super good, so you're right. All right. So here's the first tap, no foul. Second tap, foul in the back. Right? Okay? So look, you can sit here and we could sit here legitimately, half legitimately, and argue that the second attempt was a rebound instead of a tap. Okay? Officials will have that argument. However, this is the way I want you to apply this. Okay, the first one was clearly a tap, right? The first attempt was clearly a tap. He missed it. So you are just going to assume, okay? And assuming is not a good thing, and you would never tell a coach that you assume, okay? But I'm telling you to assume that he was attempting to tap the second one as well, okay? So we're going to err on the side of giving the shooter the offensive player the benefit of the doubt and give them shots, okay? And I'm going to say this tongue-in-cheek, but it's somewhat true. Unless we're in a church league game and we have 8 in a day, okay? Sorry, you're supposed to laugh at that. I mean, it's kind of a joke, but it's not really a joke, okay? Because we want to keep play going. We don't want to have 100 million shooting fouls in a church league game because that's when the clock stops as opposed to a running clock if it's an out-of-bounds foul, okay? Now, again, that's philosophy. That's later, okay? Some of you understand that. Some of you don't. We'll talk more about that later. But in a high school game, middle school, JV, varsity, school-assigned game, from me, that should be a shooting foul every time, okay? All right? And really, to be honest, even in church league, you should have it a shooting foul because you don't want to get in bad habits for the more important games. Every game is important, but the more important games are the school games, okay? So this is a shooting foul, tap for goal, okay? And a lot of times you're going to see guys put that out of bounds, but you see that referee puts him on the line, which is good. All right. Any questions so far as I move to the next video or the next play? Everybody good? All right, good. Okay, we're still on, obviously, airborne shooter, active shooting, all that kind of stuff. All right, catch this one. See if you can catch this one. So this one's a little trickier, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but by rule, this is correct. And what this guy is saying on this video is the foul occurred after he returned to the floor, which means he's no longer an airborne shooter by rule. Because once you return to the floor, you're no longer an airborne shooter, okay? So the commentary on this play is that's not a shooting foul, okay? Because he was not fouled until after his active shooting was completed, and because he came back to the floor, okay? So that's the commentary on this play. Now that's, you can argue, you can make an argument, at certain levels to not even have a whistle on that play, okay? But again, we're talking about, by rule, active shooting, not active shooting. So by rule, he comes back to the floor, and that's when he gets fouled. He gets fouled after his feet are back on the floor, which by rule means he was not in the active shooting. Which, if you're going to blow your whistle, technically you should put the ball out of bounds instead of having him shoot 2 shots. Okay? Any questions on that? All right. All right, that's it for that one. Okay, let me get out of that one and get into a different video. Okay, so any questions before we move on here with that? Okay, so is everybody understands and is with me on active shooting, continuous motion, airborne shooter? Is everybody clear on that? I want to make sure before we move on that there's no questions about those 3 things. Wonderful. Okay. All right. The next one is verticality. Actually, let's see. Am I going to do verticality next? No, we're doing a little bit of continuous motion. We're going to continue with continuous motion just a bit here. So give me just a sec. Get this off here. Skip this. Okay. These commercials. All right, and then we're going to go forward into plays on continuous motion. Okay, so this is considered a body bump. So watch this one, see if you can catch it. The body bump from the back. Again, the argument could be made that there's not enough contact there to call a foul. Okay, not having that discussion right now. The discussion we are having is if the whistle is blown, should that be a shooting foul or no? Due to continuous motion. Does everybody agree that it should be? Yeah. Okay. All right. Next play. These are long too, and there's a lot of commentary on these. Okay. Let me just pause right here. This is a term that you should not use, by the way. This term here, even though he's using it on this video, this is not a term you should ever say to a coach, a player, another referee. Okay, reach in is not a foul. You're going to hear a fan say they're reaching in. Okay, how do you get the ball if you don't reach in? That's my question. How do you steal a ball from an opponent if you don't reach in? Okay, so can I steal a ball from an opponent by reaching in and not foul?
Yes.
That's why we don't use that term, okay? But you're going to hear coaches and fans and stuff say that all the time. They're reaching in, they're reaching in, they're reaching in. Well, it's not illegal contact, okay? When they say that to me, my response will be, they can reach in all day as long as there's not illegal contact. All right? Okay. All right, good. So again, I just wanted to point that out. He's got it here, but that's not, we don't want to use that term, okay? But here's the play where there's illegal contact and whether or not it should be a shooting foul. What do you guys think of that one? You want me to rewind and do it again? I got to go back farther. Let's see. Okay. Tell me when he gathers. Right there. Okay. He hasn't been fouled yet. They're saying, so what they're, well, actually what he is saying, what the commentator is saying is number, I don't know what number that is right there. This guy basically is fouled by reaching in, okay, or, illegally contacting, not the primary defender, but the secondary defender. So he's saying the foul occurred right here by this guy. He's gathered the ball here, okay, and he's continuing his motion to the basket for a shooting foul. That should be a shooting foul as well. That is continuous motion. It should be judged a shooting foul. All right, and this is the slow-mo of it. So he didn't gather there. He gathered back here. And then he gets fouled. You can see that. And then he shoots, albeit, okay, so another argument could be made by a coach that says that he was out of control. Would anybody ever say that they would agree that if you're a coach, would you agree that player was out of control? Out of control? No? You don't think he was? You don't think a coach would ever argue that? Because he throws up a trash shot.
They will.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he had control.
So how do we respond to that argument? He was out of control.
He was fouled before he went out of control.
Correct. And he was in the act of shooting. Right? So he was fouled and in the act of shooting, regardless of the fact that it was a garbage shot or basically a throw up at the last minute, a shot attempt at the last, it's still, by rule, based on our criteria, it still should be a shooting foul. All right? Josh, you want to add anything?
What did he report right there?
Oh, he waved it off. You can see him.
No. Keep going. One more.
And then he reported block.
Yep, block. Here it comes.
Okay, here we go.
Watch this.
He reports a block.
But he waves it off, and then he reports a block. All right, yeah. So again, we're not.
So he may have had it on the primary.
He may have had it on the primary. You're right.
Talking about it
Right.
being on the secondary.
Yeah, he may have had it on the primary official, even though, according to what the commentary is saying, it was on the secondary official or secondary defender. Okay. All right. Hand check is a rule book terminology, so you can use the word hand check. Okay. Here's the next play. So you can see he's got two hands on the defender, right? Everybody saw that. His gather is right here. There's an arm bar, and as he continues, two hands, continuous motion, shooting foul. Pretty easy in my opinion, even though, he started way up here. Now, there is something else to consider. So here's where he starts his shooting motion. Here's where he gets fouled once. He gets fouled again. There. Yep. Now, the second argument is whether this play is a travel, which by rule it is, because there's his pivot foot. Lifts his pivot foot, puts his pivot foot back down, which is illegal. Okay? Which is illegal. All right? Now, I'm the world's worst at calling travels. So I would probably, in live play, I would not call this a travel. I'm going to be completely honest with you. And I would not be upset if anyone in this room chose not to call travel on this play. I'm just saying, okay? I'm not giving you games or anything. That was tongue-in-cheek too. I am giving you games. So I would not be upset if you didn't call a travel on this play. But by rule it is. By rule it is because he establishes pivot foot, and you just saw it, lifts it up, and then returns it to the floor. Okay? So by rule, but by rule, so let's follow the progression here. So he gets fouled. Okay, he's in his shoot. He's gathered. He's in his habitual movement. He's in his continuous motion to the basket, shooting motion. He's in the active shooting, right? Okay, all that stuff. And then he travels before he takes the shot. How do we administer that?
He was fouled before he traveled.
He was fouled before he traveled.
So that's where you fouled.
So how do we administer it? Well, your whistle's already blown because you've blown it for the foul. Right. Then he travels after you've blown for the foul.
If Coach asked,
he travels.
He was fouled before he ever
How do we administer it?
The only problem you have is if the ball goes in.
How do we administer
If
it?
the ball goes in, you must wave it off.
You wave it off.
Because there was an illegal act by the offense after the illegal act by the defense. So
Other than that, you still have a 2-shot foul. Okay.
you cannot benefit or give benefit to the offensive player by rewarding them for their illegal act.
Very good. Very good. Does everybody follow that? So listen, if the ball goes in, it's not a good basket because he traveled. But since the ball did not go in, he's still entitled to the same benefits because he gathered, was in his continuous motion to the basket, shoot on a shooting attempt, okay, and he got fouled. Therefore, he gets awarded 2 free throws.
So more often than not, you may not have to talk to the coach, tell anybody in the auditorium or the gymnasium that happened. If and when the ball goes in, you've got to sell it.
That's when you're going to have a conversation.
You have to make sure
Yep.
you come out
If the ball goes in.
Absolutely not. Two illegal acts. You cannot reward the offensive for their illegal act and wave it off.
Okay.
You don't have to explain it either way, because the coach is gonna raise hell about it. So.
Well, potentially, like I said, I think, my opinion, okay, I think that the majority of the time, you're not going to have a coach complain to you if you don't call a travel here. That's my point, okay? Even though by rule it's a travel, if you don't call a travel here, you're going to have very few coaches that are actually going to ask for a travel on that play. So that's why Josh said what he said, is you're probably not going to have the conversation if you put him on the line to shoot 2 free throws because the ball didn't go in, okay? But if the ball does go in, you will have to have a conversation because, again, for the same reason, the majority of the coaches are going to be like, well, why the ball went in and you called him in the act of shooting, why isn't he getting, 1 shot and the awarded basket? It's because by rule he traveled after the foul occurred. Okay?
James has a question.
James, yes.
Can you walk me through real quick why it's travel again?
Oh, I'll go back. It explain. I mean, you can't hear it, but you can see it based on this information right here. So you see his pivot foot is his right foot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right there, he lifts his pivot foot, and you cannot, by rule, bring your pivot foot back to the ground before you pass or shoot. Okay? All right? But he does because his right foot comes down and then he shoots. That's what makes it a travel.
So basically, if you're going to do a spin move, you have to have that right foot up before you gather.
Yeah.
So that the steps are even.
Listen, don't get me started on spin moves. Again,
They're almost all illegal.
they're almost all illegal, but I won't call any of them a travel. Philosophically, I'm not calling them a travel. It's a basketball move. I'm sorry. Okay, and this is where philosophy is in another meeting. We can, I'm addressing it right now, but I'm not going to get into it in great detail. Okay, but that is an accepted basketball move, and therefore, I don't feel the need to call a travel. And now you can hate me for that, but again, the percentages are in my favor. The majority of people, including coaches, will not think that's a travel or expect you to call a travel in that situation. And if you do, that gets you in more trouble than allowing it to continue. Philosophically, okay? Hear what I'm saying. But by rule, you are correct. Okay? The problem is by rule, you're correct. You can't go sit down with that coach after the play happens and show him on video how you're correct by rule. You can't do that. And even if the coach goes back and watches that play, there's very likely chance that he won't see it or understand it. Okay? So what I'm telling you in a nutshell is if you don't call that, your survival rates are higher than if you do call it. I'm just saying. I mean, that, you know,
Every team's got them. Every team's doing it.
that's the point. That's the point. Okay. And again, this is a different philosophy than what you're going to hear in a lot of different places. Okay. But this is a higher level of thinking. Okay. I say survival. I mean, if you want to be a good official and move up and get the best games and be respected by coaches and your fellow officials, in my personal opinion, you don't call that kind of play. You don't call that a travel. Okay? You just allow it to play. Right? Realistically, too, and I'm going to move on from here after this. I'm getting off into a rabbit trail. Realistically, in real time, most people aren't even going to see it. You might not even see it. You might not even think it's a travel in real time. You know what I'm saying? Okay? What I'm saying with travels in general, across the board, you need to be 100% sure in real time that a player traveled to call a travel. If you are not 100% sure, do not call it. That is the takeaway from all of this. Okay, that's the takeaway. Don't call it unless you are 100% sure. Yes, Chris.
Just say, for instance, you had a close playoff game, and I mean, it's like within 1 point. Are you still going to not call?
I'm not. No, I said I'm not going to call this in a regular game. You think I'm going to call it in a tight playoff game? No, heck no. Sorry.
I just make sure.
Then you have to dictate the game. It
Yeah,
seems like.
because
Again, I don't want to get too deep in the philosophy here because
As far as the travel is when they shuffle their feet, not in this situation when the kids are getting so quick now, they'll shuffle their feet and lift that pivot foot, put it down before they put the ball down. That's obvious. That's when coaches see it and you see it. That's an easy travel.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But this, you just don't look.
It's not as easy to see in real time.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the point. Okay, so we obviously took the time to break it down, and you can see that it's clearly a travel in slow motion, right? Okay, we don't have that benefit in live play. All right, and sorry to get off the tangent, but it is what it is. So.
NBA officials don't help the situation.
Well, that's true too. But it's that way in the college game. It's that way in the high school game.
You hear that all the time. This is not NBA.
Right. Okay. So again, we weren't. That wasn't a discussion about travel or philosophy on travels. But there you go. That's bonus material for the day. Okay. All right. Airborne shooter. All right. So this one, if you noticed, is similar to the other one that we showed a little bit ago where the kid goes up and shoots, comes back to the floor, and then gets fouled. Okay, so again, he's no longer an airborne shooter, so that would not be considered a shooting foul. Okay, he's clearly fouled. That one should be called because he clearly pushed him, all right, out there on the three-point line. The defender clearly pushed him. So you should call that, but it's not a shooting foul. So if the ball goes in, the way we administer that is if the ball goes in on a shot, it's a three-point shot, you're going to award 3 points. You're going to report a common foul on this white player, whatever number he is over there, okay? And if you're in the bonus, that player that got fouled will shoot bonus free throws. If not, you continue with an out-of-bounds throw-in. Okay? Everybody understand that and follow the logic there? Good. I think that might be the last play on that one. Yeah, it just goes on and on and on about that. Okay. All right. So that's active shooting, continuous motion. All right. now we're going to get into, we'll do legal guarding position for legal guarding. Okay, all right, so here, hang on, let me get to this. Okay, and this is good because we have to read the definition for this as well. Now, this is a little older video, but the definition should be the same as it is today. Okay, so obviously Rule 4, which is definitions, Section 23, and Article 2. If you have your book, turn to it, and we're going to read it. To obtain a legal guarding position, an initial legal guarding position, only two things have to be in effect. One is the guard must have both feet touching the playing court. Okay? All right? And the second one is the front of the guard's torso must be facing the opponent. Those are the only two requirements to initially obtain legal guarding position. Once you have legal guarding position, you can move to maintain it. All right, okay. Now these are NCAA plays, but these are all good plays, okay? So let's read Article 3 on the next page before we watch the plays, okay? After the initial legal guarding position is obtained, again, rulebook terminology, legal guarding position, obtained, and then you're going to hear the word maintained after that, okay? You can obtain. How do you obtain a legal guarding position, and how do you maintain? Okay, so after initial legal guarding position is obtained, letter A, the guard may have one or both feet on the playing court or be airborne, provided the guard has inbound status. So in other words, you can lift your foot. Once you've obtained the LGP, legal guarding position, you can lift your foot or lift both feet, okay? All right, the guard is not required to continue facing the opponent. You can turn to the side. You can turn all the way around, depending on the situation, okay? All right. Letter C, the guard may move laterally or obliquely to maintain position, provided it is not toward the opponent when contact occurs. So laterally is side to side, right? And obliquely is backwards. Thank you for that definition, angled backwards or whatever, okay? All right. The only restriction is moving forward and then contact occurring. That would be illegal. But moving side to side or backwards is legal, okay? And you can do that as a defender once you've obtained LGP. Letter D, the guard may raise hands or jump within the guard's own vertical plane, which we'll get into verticality here in a little bit, okay? Or the guard may turn or duck, which is turning your back, okay, to absorb the shock of imminent contact by the offensive player. All right? Again, all things that you can do once you've obtained legal guarding position. All right. So now we're going to watch some plays and see it in action. So we're watching the primary defender here, number 41 in white. You see him do anything illegal. He obtained, right? Okay. He obtained right here. He's got 2 feet on the floor, and he's facing his opponent. His torso is facing his opponent. So he's obtained. It doesn't say that in the book, though, within 6 feet. It doesn't say it within 6 feet. Within 6 feet, it's closely guarded only, like for, a closely guarded count, okay? All right, to obtain, you only have to be facing your opponent and have 2 feet on the floor, all right? He moves laterally and obliquely. He moved side to side and back to continue to defend the offensive player with the ball legally. And any contact that was created, there was contact. It was the offensive player that created the contact. Now, I would never suggest that you call an offensive foul on that, okay? It's a no call because the defense was legal. We do not want to we do not want to penalize the defense for plays such as this. That's the key here, okay? This is a no call. This is a play on.
And his arms are vertical.
Yep. Yep, his arms stay vertical. Exactly. Now we're going to, okay. All right, so they're going to show it again here. Then we're going to go to the next play. All right, so, and it's, yeah, see, so you see the offensive clearly initiates the contact. All right, here's the next play. Watch that defender right there in the arrow. Sorry, offensive player. Okay, here comes the defender. Okay, so he's got legal position. All right, so that one was called a block on the defense. But what was the difference between that one and the first play? Was there a difference? Let's watch it again. He's got legal guarding position, 2 feet on the floor facing his opponent. Offense initiates contact. The referee called a block. That's not a block. That is a legal play. Should be no called. Okay? All right, next play. Watch these two guys right here with the arrow. Legal guarding position, 2 feet on the floor facing the opponent. Offense initiates the contact. Offensive foul. Now that one was called an offensive foul because the players went to the floor. Okay? That's why it was called an offensive foul. If the players can maintain their positioning and stay upright, it probably would have been no called. All right?
Would you have called that?
Yes, absolutely. Now, again, we can get into the positioning of the referee here. Not the best positioning. He does take a step out away from the sideline, which is good to try to get an angle through. So you see the referee here. He takes a step away from the sideline so that he can try to get an angle through the play. However, he's a little too far away, okay? And he really is not out far enough to see through the play. So what this commentator is suggesting, and this is an NCAA video breakdown, is that he come down here. He come all the way down here to the 28-foot mark. Now, that's a long way to go for the trail, okay? And it may be a little too late for him to do that, but that's the idea. That's what they want you to do. That's a positioning critique there, okay? So, but the end of the day, this is legal guarding position by the defensive player and illegal contact by the offense. All right, here's the next play. Legal guarding position?
No.
Why not?
He never was completely in front of him.
Never established position.
Yeah. He was running along beside
You
him.
got two steps.
Never got turned around. I mean,
Okay.
puts in the air there.
Yeah.
I mean, he never had both feet on the floor and in
He
front.
never got his torso.
Josh, you agree? Do you agree, Josh?
I don't like that one there.
You don't like that one. Well, I mean, do you agree? Do you think he has legal guarding position?
Unfortunately, yes.
He does. By rule, he does. 2 feet,
By rule, he does.
2 feet torso facing.
Yes.
Keep it going. That's clean. I would have called that. That's clean.
It's a little tougher play, but by rule, that would be considered legal.
Yeah.
Legal, not illegal. Legal.
So no time, no distance, no nothing.
No, not on legal guarding position.
Go, kind of screen by screen.
Okay.
There is, yep.
Yeah. Let me see if it does that. Okay. Yeah, it's a little slower motion here.
So right here is about
As good as you're gonna get. Yep. 2 feet on the floor facing the opponent. No time or distance, and that's a good term to use. Time or distance is not required for to obtain legal guarding position.
he obtained at the last possible moment.
Time or distance is required for other things like screens, okay, but not for LGP.
So what was the call? I
There was a no call in this play.
Okay.
In live time, there was a no call. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Because he remains, he keeps his arms up, okay, and any movement of his arms down was as a result of the contact by the offensive player, okay, which is, again, we don't want to penalize that. So a lot of times we'll see, and I don't have a specific play like this that's really obvious like that, but it's a good example. A lot of times we'll see an offensive player initiate the contact on a legal defender that's vertical, such as this one. And that contact makes, I mean, if you get hit in the chest, what are you going to do? You're going to do that too, right? Okay? So that's what causes that defender to come down like that. And then 9 times out of 10, a defensive foul is called, and they do this. Like, this is the reason, because he came down like this. Well, he wouldn't have done that if the contact wasn't by the offensive player. Now, again, I'm not telling you to call an offensive foul. You should not call an offensive foul on that play either. It should be a no call. And if a coach wants to say, well, he was not in his vertical plane, my answer to the coach is the offense initiated contact caused him to do that. That's it. Okay? All right? All right, good. These are good plays. All right. That's right. All right, we're going to have a next play here, I believe. Let's keep going. Oh, it's still going on this one. All right, next play. Here we go. Okay? Legal or illegal? He had 2 feet on the floor. His torso was facing. He jumped up, and this is a kind of a verticality play as well. He jumped up, legally in his vertical plane, okay? And any contact was initiated by the offensive player. That's a good legal play. No whistle. And there is no whistle by the officials on this play.
Question back here.
Who has a question? Yes, go ahead, Jason.
So verticality seems to differ from gym to gym. Some officials say he's got to be straight up.
Oh, you mean from official to official, not gym to gym.
Official to official.
Okay.
So, is it straight up? Is it here? And I understand, this. But I mean, if
Yeah.
the player's here versus
Yeah, no, it's not here. Like, this is unnatural. Okay, this is unnatural. This is natural, which my arms are not. Oh, I got to pause this. I'm sorry. I thought I had paused.
Because I'm trying to teach
Yeah.
my kid that as a
Yeah.
shorter player.
This is vertical plane. I am still within my vertical frame or plane, whatever you want to call it. Okay, does that make sense? This is unnatural. Like, this is straight up. Okay, I'm straight up like this, but this is unnatural. Who do we really expect to do that? You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't. We shouldn't expect players to be 100% straight up and down. No, within reason, right? Give them a little bit of flexibility. Obviously, this is not if they do this instead of the offense initiating it. Okay, if they come down of their own accord, that's illegal. But yeah, we can't be so rigid to where we say no, he wasn't vertical because he was here. No, that's still vertical. Okay, so and you're right. There is a big inconsistency amongst officials on this from at all levels. It's not just here. It's in the NBA and NCAA and every level. It's that way. Okay, so. But yeah, that's a good question, Jason. All right. Next play here. Let me go back just a little bit. Okay, so this one, again, we can already see it. The defensive player is in legal guarding position, right? Okay. Now, this one, and again, we can't hear the commentary, but this one is a little bit different because they're looking for a different ruling on this. So you tell me what you think about this. Do you notice that the legal guard is basically being pushed down into the paint? Okay? He's the guard, the defensive player, is doing nothing wrong. They're legal and they're doing nothing wrong other than basically giving way. Okay? Now, according to the commentary on this video, and again, this is NCAA, so Josh could speak to whether they really want you to call this. This is a few years old, okay? But this is kind of a gray area for me because according to the video commentator, he wants an offensive foul called here because the guy backed him down. He backed him down 3 separate times, and the defensive player did nothing wrong. Okay?
It would have made it easier if the defensive player had failed.
More or less,
Then
which,
that would
yeah.
have made it easier to
It-
call it offensive.
I mean,
foul.
yeah, it would have made it visually easier, right? Okay? But then you get into the area of flopping versus,
I mean,
but
in NCAA now, they just let them bump and.
that's what I'm saying.
slam
So,
into
but
each other.
this is a tough play for me. Okay, personally, this is a tough play for me. I don't believe that I would call an offensive foul in this, and it goes back to the same conversation I had about the travel. It's more of a survival thing for me. Like, I'm going to get run out of the gym if I call an offensive foul like that. Okay, because nobody calls that. It's not an accepted thing to really call because he doesn't. Yes, he backs him down, and yes, the defense is legal, 100%. Okay, but it's just not it's not like so clear cut, like a full displacement, and he goes to the ground, like or just runs him over.
That's just banging bodies.
It's kind of more of a progressive thing, so you have to officiate it more progressively. Do you like that little transition there? That was good. I like that. So, all right, sorry. Okay, so again, the NCAA. This was, I think, in 2018 or something. They wanted this called an offensive foul. They probably wouldn't want it called that today.
No whistle, right?
No whistle. All right, so and then the takeaway here, focus on recognizing that the defense is established and maintains, again, there's your maintain. So establish is obtain, and then maintain legal guarding position, and if so, then don't reward the offense or don't penalize the defense for initiating that contact on the offense. All right, and I think that's it for that one. Yep, okay. And we got a verticality video here. We're doing good on time. All right, so principles of verticality. This is a good one. This is from the NBA, but this is good as far as principles of verticality are concerned, okay? All right, this is Joe Borgia, if anybody knows Joe Borgia, former official in the NBA. All right. All right, so again, we talked a little bit about verticality, how it's defined. We're going to read the definition real quick in the rule book just so we have it. So go to verticality in your rule book. It's toward the end here, section 45 under Rule 4. Okay, verticality applies to a legal position. The following are the basic components of principles of verticality, and there's several. Legal guarding position must be obtained initially, and movement thereafter should be legal. So, in other words, you still have to obtain and maintain legal guarding position throughout the verticality process. Okay. From this position, the defender may rise or jump vertically and occupy the space within the defender's vertical plane. That's kind of what we talked about when Jason asked the question. I'm still within my vertical plane with my arms here. They don't have to be fully, back behind my head. Okay. The hands and arms of the defender may be raised within the defender's vertical plane while on the floor, so my feet could be on the floor, or in the air. I can jump and do the same thing. Okay? The defender should not be penalized for leaving the floor vertically or having hands and arms extended within the defender's vertical plane. The offensive player, whether on the floor or airborne, may not clear out or initiate or cause the contact within the defender's vertical plane. That would be an offensive foul. Article 6, the defender may not belly up, which we'll see a play like that in this video. Belly up means to, I'm basically belly bumping them and going outside of my vertical plane, okay? So belly up or use the lower part of the body, hips or arms, to cause contact outside the defender's vertical plane. Again, key there is outside the defender's vertical plane. That's a defensive foul. And the last one is the player with the ball is to be given no more protection or consideration than the defender in judging which player has violated the rules. That's a good one, just like it's just as it says, okay? And that's often overlooked. Both players in these types of plays should be judged equally, is basically what that's saying. No more protection or consideration. All right, good. So now let's watch the plays. All right, so we're watching that defender right there with the circle. Establishes, upward motion is not started, but he's established legal position. Maintains it, right? That's illegal. Even offense initiates contact. You can see that he maintains his legal guarding position and verticality throughout the play. No call. Next play. Right here, defender right here. What you got on that one? Offensive foul. Come on, boys. That's an offensive foul. Okay, the defensive player does nothing wrong. Again, we're gonna watch the progression here. He's got 2 feet on the floor, facing the opponent. He's backpedaling, which is oblique movement. Okay, all right. Maintaining legal guarding position. He goes up with the offensive player, and the offensive player creates all of the contact and runs him into the ground. That's a clear offensive foul. And in the NBA, there's that half circle there, which is we're not even going to talk about.
Right?
That's no, he was outside the half circle, so it's an offensive foul. If it's inside the half circle, it's a different situation. Okay. Anyway, we're not going to go there because we don't have that in the NCAA. Or I mean in high school. Sorry. Okay. All right, but that's an offensive foul all day long, and the official gets it right. Next play, right here. So this one's talking about, see, he's got one arm up and one arm down, okay? Still within his vertical plane. That's perfectly legal to do that. This is a legal play, should be a no call. Because he doesn't extend that arm out. It's drawn back and stays back. And the other arm is up in the vertical plane. That's a legal play. Okay, now we're going to look at illegal verticality plays. That would be a belly up or a body bump or whatever, however you want to describe it, okay? Did you see how he moved outside of his vertical? As the guy went to the right, he went to the left and belly bumped him, basically, okay? We'll probably show it again here. Boom, he jumps outside his vertical plane and contacts, which is illegal. And a whistle was called. Okay, next one. So this one is, he establishes legal position. However, he turns his body and he brings his arm down. Does everybody see that? Understand that one? Yep. That's illegal as well. And then we have this last one here. Clear foul there. He brings both arms down. The offense does not initiate that. He does. Clear defensive foul outside of the vertical plane. Yeah, that one was easy. All right. Good. Any questions on verticality? Good. Okay, now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to look at some block charge plays. All right. Now, again, we have to have the same concepts in play here. You have to obtain legal guarding position. You can move to maintain. All those things. All right. So here we go. Obtained 2 feet on the floor facing the opponent. Oh, it wasn't on the primary defender. It was on the secondary defender. All right. Let's take it back just a second here.
We have a large.
Okay. So again, time and distance is not important, not necessary in obtaining legal guarding position. So that secondary defender obtained by having 2 feet on the floor facing the opponent, and the offense clearly initiates the contact and runs through the defender. We do have a double whistle there.
That's what I said, large.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
We have a double whistle. Okay, so let's talk about this for just a second. Again, we're not really talking about mechanics today, but if you have a double whistle, how do you handle that? How do you handle that play? Who takes it?
Eye contact, and generally whoever's in the primary gets it first.
Whose primary is it?
trail right there.
It came from trails.
Right.
It went into leads.
The trail stays with it.
It came from trail. It went into leads, so it's dual. It's dual coverage, which means it's okay to have a double whistle. I mean, it's that's fine.
If you got the same thing.
Okay. But the secondary defender, thank you. The secondary defender is going to be leads primary. The trail has the primary defender as their primary, and the lead has the secondary defender as their primary. Does everybody understand that? Okay. So in this, because it's dual coverage based on floor positioning, it becomes leads primary due to the fact that it's a secondary defender. Okay? So the lead should take it. However, the trail takes it. Okay? And the trail gets it wrong because the trail goes with a block. It's not a block. So here's the thing. If you have a double whistle, all of these things, and we're going to go into more detail on this in another meeting, okay? But all of these things have to go through your mind instantly. And the more you referee, the quicker and easier it will be. When you first start, it's not going to be an easy thing for you to do, okay? But this is the thought process that you have to go through. When I have a double whistle with Josh, he's in trail, I'm in lead, okay? And we have a play just like this. My first thought is what we already talked about. Who's primary, who's secondary, based on floor positioning. And then who's primary, who's secondary, based on primary versus secondary defenders. Okay? So once I've figured that out, and it's got to be a split second thing, okay? All right? I've got that. I know if I'm in lead, it's mine because it's a secondary defender. All I'm doing then is looking at my partner who has the whistle with me, and I'm seeing that he has his arm up, but he has made no indication of any type of foul. That's all I need to know is, okay, boom, I got it. All right, I got it, and I'm going offensive foul, just like that. But all those things have to take place. So I gotta determine whose play it is by those two factors, and then I got to look to my partner, make the eye contact, like you said, Mike, and make sure that my partner does not have a signal, which in this case, he does. Okay? You notice it's in reverse in this scenario. He's got his arm up with no indication of a foul. He put his arm up and has already come down and done a block signal. Okay? And is moving toward the play to take it, basically. Well, at that point, yes, you do, unfortunately. But he got it wrong. Okay? So,
Well, just keep on going.
yeah, see, he keeps it up. And now he says 2 shots because the guy has already indicated a block signal. Okay, but that's incorrect based on mechanics, and it's the incorrect call based on our rules. So, again, this kind of stuff happens in every game. Every game. Rulings are incorrect, and it's going to happen because we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all miss stuff. The only people that don't miss stuff are players like Kaysen and Soulsby. When they play, they're always 100% on everything. But and Cole, sorry, I mean these are my Anderson guys here. These guys that I reffed when they were players. So,
Yeah.
but
Sometimes you can say, your whistle's for mine, and I just back off.
well, you could do that too. However, you still have to go primary, secondary situations, and all officials need to know primary, secondary. Okay, Whose primary play is it? Whose secondary play is
Tell
it?
the kids, the guys that are new, what you do when you have them.
I just did.
But you gotta understand their coach too.
No, I'm telling you, if I'm going up like with this, and
Oh.
he's going like this, it's obvious.
Oh,
to
yeah, okay.
everybody. Then what do you do?
If you have two officials, both officials have a whistle, and both officials make a clear signal that's opposing. Okay, so he makes a block signal, he makes an offensive foul signal. By rule, we have to report both. Okay, we have to. It's called a blarge. It's not in the rule book, but that's what officials call it. Okay, but it's a double foul, is what it is. It's a double foul. It's a foul on the offense and it's a foul on the defense. We report both, and we go to point of interruption. Right? Point of interruption or jump ball?
Jump ball, man.
Point of interruption. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we go to point of interruption, which would be what in this situation?
It would be.
We'd have to go to a jump ball, wouldn't we, Josh?
Not if the ball hadn't been released. Has to be pointed in the
So we're giving it to the defensive team.
offensive team.
We're giving it to the offensive team, out of bounds.
Closest
Okay.
to- yeah.
All right.
Go out of bounds underneath.
Yep.
Now,
Okay.
he's already released. He's an airborne shooter. Has already released the shot. And
There's no player control. In other words. Yep.
Correct. And then some reason we have differing signals, where somebody thinks he walked under and somebody thinks he's already been there for a year and a day. Then, because there's no team control or player control, then we have to go to the APR.
Very good. Okay. Excellent. Next play. This just goes through it all. It's pretty good, but we've already talked about it, so we're going to go to the next play. All right, what you think about that one? What you think?
I'll say block because he's not in position.
Does he obtain? 2 feet on the floor facing opponent? Let's go back just a touch here.
Poor guy was just in his place wrong.
Secondary defender. Does he obtain? Oh, I mean, why not? He's got 2 feet on the floor facing his opponent. Tell me why he hasn't obtained here.
Doesn't like he's facing it to me.
2 feet on the floor facing the opponent. The ball's right here.
The opponent is going toward the end.
The ball's right here.
He's not coming toward that player, that defender. He's going toward the end.
Josh, what do you think? Can't really see it?
The first time. Go ahead, keep playing.
Oh, gosh.
And he called him on the side.
What do you call it?
He called a block and he scored the basket. All right, let's break it down here slowly.
He jumped and moved forward.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. No longer airborne, but that's what this is saying. He's no longer airborne. Yeah, that's 2 feet facing opponent. See, they're saying it should be an offensive foul. This guy's saying it should be an offensive foul.
So right there, he gains. Now you can get a push on 3 green.
But he never, if you see, he jumps, and when there was contact, looks like he was still in the air, so his 2 feet he had never had the position. I would have called a block.
I would call it push on green.
Then we'll go to the.
That's a tough play. That's honestly a very tough play. I probably would have called a block there too.
Isn't he moving into the shooter though? He's not moving side to side or obliquely.
Hey, guys, you gotta call it and sell it.
Well,
There you go, Al. You're right. You're right though.
moving forward into the shooter is because 3 pushed. So yes, he is moving forward into the shooter. Watch. 3 gives him a little push.
Yeah, 3 gives him a little push. You're not calling that push. There's no way. First of all, you're the slot official here, and you're not in position. You're the center official, Josh, and you're not in the correct position. He did rotate late, but you're still not in the correct position. That's right. Okay. All right. That's a tough play. That's a tough play, but honestly, probably going block. Okay. Even though they're saying offensive foul, you know, let's not split hairs. That, you know, call a spade a spade. That looks like a block.
And like I say, look at there, none of the other officials doing anything. They way out. So it's that lead official call right there. Bam. He calls it. Right?
Yeah. I mean, yes.
Yeah, man. Boom.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Couple more and we're done here. Airborne shooter. That looks like Jason out there refereeing. Oh my, what in the world? Okay, what you got on that one, guys? You already saw what the referee called. What you got?
He was established, it looked like.
He was established.
It doesn't really matter that he barely catches him, really, like he catches him on the shoulder.
All right, so let's make sure he's established before we go any further, okay? He's moving right currently. 2 feet facing opponent. Airborne shooter, guy goes up in the air. There you go. Not airborne right now, but he's about to be. LGP. Offensive initiated contact.
And no basket.
Is this playing or not? Oh, sorry. Okay. In my opinion, that's a no call. But I don't. I mean, yes, if you're going to call it, you can't call it defensive foul. Okay, that's the key here. Is you're not going to call a defensive foul. He does hit him on the shoulder with his hip. I feel like the kid embellishes a good bit there. That's just my personal opinion. Hang on, Jason. I'll get to you in just a sec. And so I'd have a hard time calling this an offensive foul. I'm probably going to allow play to continue. I know that's a difficult thing to do, but who am I going to yell at by? He's going to get yelled at because he called an offensive foul. You're going to get yelled at either way on that one. Jason, what's your question?
So in the modern day of the Euro step,
Oh, Euro step? Uh-oh.
the defender is stationary, he's there, both feet, bam. Now we hit a Euro, and they rub shoulders. I have seen that called a block 1,000,004 times, and the defender never moves into the offensive player.
It shouldn't be a block based on what we know about the rules, right?
To clarify.
Yeah. I mean, other than watching on video, what you're saying, I don't believe it should be a block just because they make shoulder contact with each other. As long as the defensive player is legal. I don't care if it's a Euro step or not. It's, you
A
know.
lot of times it depends on the severity of the action.
Sure. Do you think that was severe? That's why I would probably no call it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And there's a lot
But
of tactics.
at the same time, it's an ugly play. And so not having a whistle will draw criticism. Yes. Okay. It's gonna draw criticism having a whistle or not having a whistle on that play. That's a tough one because you're gonna get something from someone regardless on that play. Okay. So you just have to make a decision based on what you know about the rules the best you can. And in my opinion, the defense is legal. Would definitely not have a defensive foul. It would be very hard for me to have an offensive foul, even though by rule, offense initiated contact, you could have an offensive foul. So the official was right. I'll just give it to him. That wasn't Jason though. That was the other guy. So that one there, the defender turned. All right, let's finish. Yeah, let's get. All right. No, remember you can turn. Legal guarding position, 2 feet, facing opponent. You are allowed to turn to maintain, can move to maintain LGP. That is an offensive foul, if anything. It could be, yeah, that's an offensive foul. Okay. It's clear, in my mind, a clear offensive foul, which there was a no call on that play. That one should not be no called. Okay.
I'm probably going outside your. Just remember on offensive foul, true or false, you can never count a basket on a player control foul.
That's false. Yeah, we're not getting into that right now.
What if it's like the defensive player almost like initiating contact by turning his shoulder into the offensive player? Like he's set in legal guard position, but then when the offensive player's coming, he kind of leans in with his shoulder.
Okay, so again, it's
'Cause that's what
if he moves forward, if I'm legal, okay, and the offensive player's coming toward me, and I move forward like this, which is what you're telling me is happening,
Yeah, maybe not that extreme.
that's illegal.
That's illegal. Yeah.
But marginal movements, small movements,
Let it slide.
it's offense or nothing unless it's clearly moving outside your vertical plane.
Unless,
Okay.
like, in that play, the guy kind of to prevent.
He turned, yeah, turned so that he didn't get hurt or anything. Yeah.
What says you can do.
Exactly. That was the point. So, all right, good. And that's it. Excellent. That's all I got. Any questions for the good of the group before we finish up the meeting? Okay, you can shut the video off, Brian. But hang tight for just a minute.